Okay, in this video, I would not actually turn on the machine or print something, but I want to take a few minutes to talk about my build experience, what I liked, what I did not really like on the build, uh, and compare it to another very similar printer I have, a Sunlu S8. Both are very similar price points. There is a slight difference on the boards, but apart from that, the build volume, pricing, the way they are set up are almost identical. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. So this took me around 15 to 20 minutes to build the CREASEE CS30. One thing you'd note is the box does not contain any instructions. To get to the build instructions, you would have to refer to the pen drive, the drive which comes with the printer. The instructions are there. I actually winged it because I'd seen one of the instruction videos earlier, which was pretty straightforward. Instruction wise, I think all of these are probably CR10 clones, if I'm not wrong. Let me walk around. So the form factor is nice. It's very compact. The top is very flat, as you can see. The good thing here is you can easily blow off or wipe off any dust. Cable management is decent. All the cables do come in from the side. Another thing I really liked is, apart from being reinforced by 2 screws here from below and 2 screws there from below, you also have reinforcement from the sides that does add an additional layer of stability. Coming down to things which you could improve, the belt here is very thin. I did not really see any way of adjusting these. I may be wrong, but I've not found a way to adjust this. Thankfully, the tension on this is fine for now, but I would like some sort of adjustment to be present. And just to give an example, here is my Sunlu S8. You can actually loosen those 2 bolts and then screw these and tighten them. I did talk about the belt thickness. So if you see the belt thickness here versus the belt thickness here, this does have an opportunity to rub against the rail, whereas here this is in the air, so this probably will last longer. Out of the box, the bed had a lot of play. While they do give you a 10 mm spanner to adjust it, it was nearly impossible because the spanner is tiny. I recommend removing the 4 leveling nuts, removing the entire heated plate, and then adjusting it. Take your time, and only the nuts on I believe the right side are adjustable. If I'm not wrong, you can't adjust both the sides. So start by the nut here, the wheel here, then go to the center and then there. Keep checking back and forth a couple of times. Make sure it's not overly tight. The other thing, when you're talking about the this would be the y-axis. This has a single, I think this is what, 40 mm rail. It's sturdy enough, but if you look at what other companies have done, they have 2 individual 20 mm rails, so that does give a little bit more stability, in my opinion. But this does it perfectly fine. I do not find this lacking anywhere, but this is just to nitpick a bit. Again, I'm really a fan of this thin profile, and you can see because the way this is set up, though the print areas are very similar, this is considerably bigger. So this is almost this is 4 inches here, maybe another inch there, so it's 5 inches longer and about an inch taller for exactly the same build volume. Maybe 10 mm more there, but for all purposes this is much more compact, so it fits much neater on my table. What they've done is The front part here is all enclosed and the power supply is behind that. It's open, so you don't have sheet metal running all across, but just in the front part. That makes it easier to access the power supply and switch the voltage. The x-axis very similar on both the printers. I think this is fairly standard. Again, the carriage looks exactly the same. Let me move around to the back. The back again has a very clean design. This does hang off, but I think that's inevitable. That's perfectly fine. Whereas in the Sunlu, it's integrated inside the frame. So I think that's where you have 2 of those 5 inches difference. Hardware wise, it has 2 Z motors, one for the extruder, one for the X and one for the Y. So the extruder X and Y are the same size, but the Z motors are a different profile. They seem to be slightly, or actually they are slightly smaller. I don't think that's really going to have any impact. It's this lightweight carriage anyway, whereas in my Sunlu S8 all the motors are the same, all are big. Again, I don't know the torque specs, but visually these are smaller. Again, I am pretty pleased in the way they have the cables routed. Point to note is this does come with cable support, but mine was broken out of the box like I showed you. I had to 3D print something especially for this, so I actually used Tinkercad, made something, printed out, and because I wanted this up and running, I didn't want to wait. I did contact CREASEE. They offered to send me either a part or the 3D print file, but I've not responded to them. I probably should soon. The way the Z is set up, this is good. So it is loose, that's how it should be. While it has some constraint, it is free floating here. The Sunlu, on the other hand, is similarly free floating. They have a metal bracket. This is a plastic bracket. That really doesn't matter, but the difference is here they do have something like a silicone cover which prevents any vibrating noise. This, you can see the difference. So it's just personal choice. Another thing, while we're up here, the spool holder can only fit in this place. These are not T-nuts, but there is thread drilled into this I think extrusion, you may call it, and you cannot move it anywhere else. For most people this may be fine, but some people may want to move it slightly off, so that does restrict you. I know you could get a couple of T-nuts and move it, but I just wanted to point that out. And again, the other thing is, if you look at the x-axis brackets, I mean, it's almost identical, probably made in similar factories or based off similar schematics. I do notice like this one is slightly smaller than this. Again, for what use we're going to make, it has absolutely no difference. Similarly with the bracket holding the extruder, I'm just trying to compare. Both are equally rigid. I can't complain. One good thing I notice here is that the filament sensor is perfectly in line, so this is a straight path, whereas in the Sunlu it is loose and it's not a straight path. So that's something which these guys have done well. Another thing which is really good is every single cable is marked. It's almost impossible to not know what each is, whereas in the Sunlu that's not the case. But the benefit here is for the extrusion motors and all, the cables are in a braided sheath versus being open here. Apart from that, another good thing is that the power supply comes in here at the very end, so it is good, so you don't need a longer cable to power this, whereas in the Sunlu you have to go all the way down there to the front, so you do need a cable which is at least 2 feet longer than what you would need for this. Let me see if there's anything else on the build. Metal is thick gauge, no complaints whatsoever. Another thing which is different here, you'll notice that they have used a lot of Phillip head screws up here, for this here, and even here, which I've not really seen in most 3D printers. Not a big deal. They do provide a screwdriver which has both the Phillip head and the one with the minus head, so that takes care of that. But it's just something I have not really come across. Now let me move back to the front. Again, the X bed is loose. I have taken a test print which I'll talk about in my next video. I have not found a way to tighten this, and sadly, if I don't know if you can make out. Let me go to the back again. The way this is mounted, there's no easy way of tightening it that I could figure out. I may be wrong, but so far I can't find an easy way. That's going to be a bummer if that's the case. The only way is uncrimp, tighten, and recrimp. It's honestly, they could have fixed it easily, similar to what Sunlu has done. They have the small bracket which you can slide to tighten it, then tighten these down. Something like this is all you'd really need to have here, and worst case, I probably can get that part, or maybe even 3D print it. So this basically can be pushed out, and you can slide to tighten. Not a difficult fix. Again, the biggest difference in these two printers is this uses your standard board. It is not a silent board. It does have a dotmatics or black and white display. This is a silent board. It has a beautiful touch screen. I will touch upon the screens and navigate through it, show you some really great features that this has once we move to our next video where I go into the operations piece. Apart from this, the machine is good. Print quality so far is good, but more details on that a little bit later. There are a few more things I would like to see them improve, which I would talk about in my next video. Again, thank you so much. Look forward to the next video where I actually do a print on the CREASEE. Then on my Sunlu, I want to compare them both in terms of quality. I'll talk about the difference in the noise, the features that each one of them offers through the touch screen versus the rotary screen, and then maybe highlight some I particularly like in my hobby usage of these machines. Take care till next time. Thank you so much.